Hello out there, and today we're going to be looking at the doomsayer that I built right here. Um, Interesting things to note is that although it uses marker barrels, I learned that you could encase the outside of a marker barrel with half-inch PVC, which I usually use for blowguns. So I had a lot of it lying around, so I had enough to encapsulate the outside of it with this piping. And the cool thing about this piping is that although it also adds like just enough extra barrel length so that the darts don't spiral out of control when you fire it, which is really important. It's the biggest weakness to doing the marker barrel. Um, that's the biggest weakness to using marker barrels inside the Doomsayer is that it causes them to spiral out of control. So you get like your range is horrible. Once you add like your second spring and do the seal improvements, doing the entire one wing angel overhaul of it. With this, of course, you get that extra distance. I've also found that it helps stabilize the barrels better. As that I thought that when there was a huge impact, I think the barrels would maybe shift a little bit because it's really thin, weak plastic. That inside of the impact, it might not stay perfectly straight because they're not connected to each other without this. Without this, they're not hitting each other, so they have like no real rock hard stabilization area. With this, they're all it's like pretty much a perfect fit. Like some of them were tough to get in. Like I had to Dremel around the edges off the back of some of the PVC piping just so that I can get it to fit around the marker barrels. And a final thing that this does that is really advantageous is that it puts more pressure on the outside of the marker barrel. So it's not much extra pressure, but um, it keeps it from like expanding a little bit inside of the heat. Because I think that's something that actually happens to them sometimes because they're just so thin, such thin, weak plastic that I think that the heat might cause it to shrink or contract a little bit. Because I could have sworn that when I first had them and it was all inside and everything, that I was getting a much better seal, and then I went outside and it felt like they were just sliding right out. It was pretty ridiculous. But yeah, I did that, and I uploaded a lot of pictures pre these barrelings to a lot of the websites, and as soon as that happened, I went outside and I did like more proper range shots because my first range shots were just single shots. They were if a good single shot fired like that, like a good shoulder length height, firing this thing out there, gets you can get some good range, but I was doing it endlessly. I was also did a lot of indoor firing tests, and indoor firing tests you can't really tell because that's like within 20 feet the dart's gonna look really awesome, but as soon as you go outside, it just goes like. So went outside and the darts were going like anywhere between like 45 and 90 plus feet. Um, Closer to the 45 than the 95 to be entirely honest. It's just like I fired maybe like two turrets worth, like maybe what, like 24 darts. That's 24 darts, and it was just like peppering the entire firing range. It was just like this is terrible. This is the worst spread I've ever seen in a gun. So I went back into it, and this is before I didn't have a proper seal. I was having such difficulty making the seal proper because I don't know what it is exactly because I didn't make mine rear loading because of the marker barrels. They have the cap still in them, so you can't make this. You cannot make it rear loading. It wasn't an issue. I was trying to make it HPC safe. I wasn't going to put CPVC or PTG to begin with, but yeah, I didn't enhance the seal because everything I tried putting foam, I tried using the O-ring, and it just put too much pressure onto the back of the turret, and the gun wouldn't auto rotate. So what I did, after great difficulty, I removed all the hot glue and stuff that I had on the front of the plunger so that it would rotate perfectly, and then I yanked off the rubber head and pushed it up a little bit, and I wrapped it up with a little bit of sewing thread, and then I shoved it back in, and that spaced it up just enough so that the seal was much better, so that I would get a more constant seal, so that the pressure would so you could get more predictable ranges. Despite my attempts, although they were successful, it still isn't as good range-wise as a CPVC doomsayer or a PTEG doomsayer, and I accept that. My mission was to make it HVZ safe, and I think I might have. This shoots about as hard, I would say, as a breach long shot, like an angel breach long shot, like the average angel breach long shot. You know, obviously it's also better than angel breach long shot because, you know, it's the pump action and it never jams, ever. You know, especially with the one-wing angel modifications, you know, where it just never skips a beat anymore. Average ranges, I say, is probably close to maybe between 70 and 80 feet flat. That's a reasonable assessment, you know, for what ranges it would get. I mean, it can actually go much further than that because there's a lot of uncertainty with using streamlines. So yeah, it's a lot of uncertainty. I mean, I would probably, like, if someone was within 70 to 80 feet, I would probably start taking shots because this thing is just really accurate. That nice line on the top actually makes like the black line right up here. Let's see if you can see that. Like this thing right here, it makes a fantastic sight. Like, you just stare that down and you just use that and you can get such great accuracy, and it's just really comfortable and powerful and everything. So we're going to do another firing test on my flag. I'm going to back up as far as I can go, you know, smaller room. And so as you can see, it's got a little bit of power to it. It's not going to be able to use my HVZ game because they barely let us use anything that goes further than 60 feet. So, you know, if you do like my overhauls that I do on recons, long strikes, and everything, goes much further than 60 feet, and, you know, they get banned out instantly, and they go maybe 70, 75 feet. This gun's, you know, hitting the upper end of that zone, so it's also really banned. Which is a damn shame. So, yeah, that's the Doomsayer that I built. Works fairly well. Alright.